welcome to Bluejay Chat. I'm your host, Nathan Lemire. Alongside me, as always, virtually, Dr. John Sample. And John, we have a new guest to Bluejay Chat this month.
We certainly do. We are joined by Jill Seaman, the director of the Pine River School for Young Learners. So it's our 4K, early childhood, Head Start, everything having to do with young learners. Welcome, Jill.
Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. It's good to be here today.
Hi, Jill, and welcome. So, John, normally, obviously, we have recognitions after a Board of Ed meeting. We had our Board of Ed last night, and it was seemed like a quick one from what I've seen already.
It was, even though we had a lot of recognitions, and it's never boring or dull because there's a lot of good work that goes on during the month, but we had a lot of recognitions, and then we kind of zipped right through the administrative reports. So Elizabeth Schmidt, she placed 12th at the Division I state cross country, and she ran a time of 18:50. So we're very, very proud of our representative from Merrill. She did an awesome job, and she represented the Blue Jays very well. A couple of other milestones. Kelly Page, volleyball player this year. She's a 3-year starter on varsity, and she reached her milestone of 1,000 career assists this for her career. And then her teammate Rachel Travis also reached a career milestone of 1,000 digs. In fact, well over 1,000. So both of those athletes did extremely well, and that's with the shortened season. You know, anytime your season is abbreviated like that, you're wondering, how your stats are going to be. And so they did a fantastic job. A couple of Jefferson staff members, Sheila Champion, just for going above and beyond. She's speech and language pathologist. And during this time with COVID, she certainly continued to build relationships with students outside of the services that she provides as speech and language. And then also Kim Hall as a role model teacher during this new time, the new learning and the whole new normal. She embraced new ideas and mentors new teachers effectively to help them grow. So we're very, very proud of the accomplishments of those two ladies. And then also Steve Holtz. Steve Holtz filled in out at Maple Grove and didn't skip a beat. He continued to make sure that building was sanitized. And Maple Grove, as we know, has had 0 positive cases at that point. And it's thanks to the custodial staff and especially to Steve Holtz for stepping up and filling in where he needed to. And then we had 4 ladies who are affectionately referred to as the MHS COVID response team at the high school. Wendy Arndt, Bree Semling, Jenna Brandenburg, and Melissa Schroeder. They really have stepped up, and anytime that there was any vacancies or absences, they made sure to pitch in so that students were not only supervised, but filling in for our administrative assistants as well. And so those 4 ladies went above and beyond and they've done a wonderful job, and their assistance has allowed Merrill High School to remain open even despite staff absences. So we had a lot of recognition, and that's always the nice part of any board meeting.
Right, and obviously with how everything is right now, you need people to step up, and it's great that we have all these people step up. And obviously our fall sports, we didn't know if we were going to get them, John. We talked about that in an earlier one, and we were just so thankful that it was able to happen, that we were able to get a season in, even though for football it didn't quite turn out the way we wanted to, obviously, but that's the ebbs and flows of sports too. But we're so proud of our other athletes who did do really, really well. Obviously, cross country, that was her 2nd time going to state too, and she's just a junior. So just think what she can do next year, John, with a full season.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic, and I certainly hope we're well on the path to having full seasons for next fall. And with Thanksgiving right around the corner, and we talk a lot about gratitude and thanks, and our weekly bulletin this week certainly lends itself to that. You mentioned that the football season wasn't exactly what we wanted as far as wins and losses, but if COVID has taught us one thing, it's taught us to look for gratitude in areas that we typically don't look at and not to take things for granted. I think just the ability for those players and those coaches to be on the field competing was remarkable and shouldn't be taken for granted. Regardless of the outcome of the game, we were able to compete. And so it's really redefined and reshaped how we think of things.
Right. And I know parents always respond with they're grateful for those things that do happen that make it seem even a little bit normal. I know even at our school, we haven't been able to have families come in like we typically do. We have a big pizza night at the beginning of the year. We do the color run in the fall, and we haven't been able to do those things in person. But like you guys are talking about with the sports, we were able to do the color run, but it was just virtual. We sent the things out to the families, and they did them in their own space, maybe on the trail. A lot of those things are on our website and out on Facebook, so you can see the pictures from those. We did an apple crunch, so you'll see lots of children eating apples, taking a big bite out of an apple that's nearly as big as their heads. And then coming up, we have a soup, story, and snuggle night that's all going to be virtual. Typically, we have them come on into the school and we all eat soup together, and we all know that that's not a good idea right now. So we've made things happen in a virtual way. And our staff at Pine River, as well as the 4Ks, have really come up with some great virtual activities for our community, 4K kids and families.
Right. So, and that's something I want to touch on, Jill, a little bit, is your job with Prairie River School for Young Learners. Obviously, John and I talk about
Pine. It's Pine River, not Prairie.
Sorry.
Common error.
I am sorry. I am so used to the Prairie River and stuff. Yeah, I lived out in Pine River for so long. So forgive me, everyone that lives on Pine River. But Pine River School for Young Learners, it's so unique because John and I talk about this all the time with, high school, middle school, and elementary. We don't really talk as much about the younger students, and that's on us. That is on us in this show. I will apologize for the show on that one. But these kids, especially in this COVID time, it's got to be so weird with all these masks and all these different things that they're not used to. I mean, how do you guys keep these kids all corralled through all that?
Well, actually, because that's the way they know school to be, when they come in, we have masks for them to. Some of them already come with their own masks from home. And we have 2 sets of masks for each child that are washed, and they rotated through. But they don't know any different. So Nathan, they are really right in lockstep with this. It's not a change to them. Their school day is a little bit shorter, so that's easier too. It's a half day for our 3 and 4-year-olds. And that we are a PK-12 district. And that's kind of a big feather in our cap that we have 3 and 4-year-olds that are getting a good head start on learning throughout Merrill. And that's access to a really great quality education and teachers and curriculum. My job is encompassing the MAPS Head Start as the director of that, but also the principal of a school, so Pine River School for Young Learners. On top of that, I get to meet with our wonderful 4K partners that do Parkside, which is closed temporarily until December 1st due to COVID and lack of staffing and students. We also have St. Francis Xavier right across from the high school there. And we have NTC, New Testament Christian Academy over. They have one of our 4Ks. And then finally, the last one is at Trinity. So all those 4Ks, and we meet to talk about programming and attendance and all of the things that make our school curriculum, how to support all different kinds of learners at those ages, differentiating instruction. So we do have a really great thing going on here for our 4K throughout Merrill. So we're pretty lucky that way. So yeah, it's good to be grateful this time of year, isn't it, for all the things that we do have.
It is obviously a great time to be grateful. And obviously we should be grateful all the time, but really this time of the year is the year that is part of the time that we express it a little bit more, I guess. And John, I mean, we got to be so grateful, obviously, they have such a great program, and we've had such a strong program for so long too. I remember going through the Head Start program, and I think that helped me more than I probably care to admit even.
Well, your family actually is one of the families. I know I look back and I see in some of the policy council still some historical things that your mother especially has contributed to our program and to early learning. So I could tell that was a special interest of hers.
Yeah, just giving back to the community was something my mom always did, and John, obviously having people like my mother, who obviously is such a milestone person for this community, even though she never grew up in this community. She raised her kids here, and obviously we have several other families just like that.
Yeah, we really do it, and I've had the privilege and the ability to be able to sit in on the last two, I believe, Pine River meetings, and it's great when the leadership changes, and it's always new faces, and it really is a nice meeting to be a part of because the parents lead it. There's also a board member that's present, and this year it's John Smith, and it's a phenomenal group each and every year that continue to do great things at Pine River.
I just recently heard from one of the parents, and she said that she can't even put into words how much she knows she's grown from the experience of being part of that policy council. That just the learning how things work and understanding the pieces of school, and that's going to carry her and the other involved parents a long way in being involved in their children's learning and school and supporting the school, because they see all that goes into it, from the aids all the way through, they see the purchases, they see all the thought that goes into every minute of the day when the kids are at school. So they know what they're stepping into when they say, hey, I'll be part of that parent committee at elementary level. Those are going to be some of your most integrated parents and really involved in the learning at school. So
yeah, and it's not just an educational piece either. There's such a higher level of leadership and accountability. And so not only does the program get our students started on the right foot, but it's great for parent involvement. And yeah, we've had to change things. You mentioned those earlier, Jill, and I had a meeting with the WVC superintendents earlier today, and we're talking about how can we show thankfulness and gratitude to our staff. It's difficult, but we come up with ways to do that. We just have to make sure that we modify. We always had a couple of administrative leadership team meetings throughout the year where we would, share food, and we come in for the holiday breakfast and those types of things. And again, those are things we look back on, and while we appreciated them at the time, I think we appreciate them even more now, to be able to return to something like that or to modify those things that we do to show appreciation. And so you just can't take anything for granted nowadays.
Right.
Yeah. So, Jill, I wanted to touch on, if a parent came up to me today and asked, how could I get in on some of those policy meetings? Because my kid's just about to start and all that, and I want to know how to do that. How can they do that? What is the best way for them to do that, Jill?
Well, first of all, they need to be a parent at Pine River School for Young Learners, either have a Head Start student or a student with a disability that is 3 or 4. We are an income eligible program, so they would have to go through some eligibility and share, some of those things with us. And we also have, they would have to agree. One of the things we do is we do home visits, and every family gets home visits. And that's just to see the child in their own home environment and support the family in encouraging that growth and supporting that learning at home for the children. So just to kind of be that extra support for the family. So if they want to be involved, you're at school, you're one of the parents, or past parents can also be part of it. And then we'll just ask, we'll just put it out in our newsletter, who's interested in being a part of this. And then eventually they all show up, whether it's virtual or face-to-face. And there's a little election that takes place to see who becomes the officers. And from then on out, that president runs the meeting, just as you see it. Well, very similarly. I can't say it's exactly like the board meeting, but it's the similar Robert's Rules of Order. And it's a learning process as well, where we support each other with, oh, go back and, don't forget the all in favor part, or, but they're learning it. So, and taking it very seriously. So that's part of the governance that comes along with having a national or a federal grant program, is that you need to really have different levels of governance and support for the program itself. So
right. And obviously no one runs a tighter ship than Kevin Blake for the Board of Education. All the presidents I've seen over the years, John, he runs it smooth and steady. No real deviations from him.
Well, we've got some in training. I'm just saying, we've got a couple that will be ready to step into that. They love it.
Awesome. So, John, I know normally we give you a question that you can ask, but before we get to that, I think just because we're talking about being grateful, we're talking about the Thanksgiving season. Thanksgiving is literally a week away from today. Let's talk about what we're grateful for from the school district here and our parents, if we can. And we'll just go around the horn, I guess.
Certainly, and a couple of things that we're grateful for came up last night, and it's just taking advantage of every moment that we can while we're either open or while students are present virtually. And so we're all doing the best we can, and not only for COVID related issues, but we're being fiscally responsible, and we're already looking 3 years into the future, and we're certainly looking at next year. So one of the big decisions that was settled on last night at the board meeting was the board approving K2 being at Kate Goodrich next year, and grades 3 and 4 will be at Washington next year. And then, of course, that moves the fifth graders up to the middle school, and then the high school still remains 9-12. And so there's a lot of work that still has to be done, but that's just one of the first steps. We did have parents on our ad hoc committee. And, it was about 4 or 5 years ago when we were talking about fifth grade going to the middle school that the community was really very vocal about their opinions one way or another about fifth grade being with eighth grade. And so I think one of the things that I'm really grateful for is our community understands our financial situation. Our community trusts us to make the right decision. We're taking all the right steps to make sure that they are as involved as possible. And so really last night went off without a hitch as far as which grades will be at which building. It's also kind of a milestone that I think for the first time, at least in my tenure, our students know which building they're going to be going to, because it's going to be based on grade. But our teachers may not know which grade they're going to teach and which building they'll be in. And so we're going to take the next couple of months to figure out the administrators at those respective buildings, Washington and Kate Goodrich, as well as our teachers, and where our teachers are going to be, whether it be at the middle school, at Washington, or at Kate Goodrich, depending on what they teach. Several factors: their preference, what their certifications are, and so we're going to be real busy in the coming months, planning not only for what next year is going to look like staffing wise and administratively, but also planning for our referendum. So we've got a lot on our timeline calendar coming up, but I'm just really grateful for the support of the community.
And I'll jump in. When parents have children, one of the hardest things to even imagine is letting that child go off to school. So I'm really grateful for our families for trusting that 3 or 4-year-old, that hand to hand, to get them onto the bus and know that we are going to be receiving them and giving them all of our attention and really supporting that child when they're not with their parents. That's a huge, huge thing to ask of a parent, but they also know in their hearts that that's the best thing for their kids, but it still doesn't make those tears any less evident on those. Well, it's not just the first few days. It happens sometimes throughout the year when their child says, "Bye, Mama, I love you," or, that "See you later, Daddy." Or if the child's crying, it's even harder. So I just want to take a minute to thank the Merrill families for trusting their most precious and vulnerable children to our district, and especially to our 4K and our Head Start program. I'm going to take a second to really give a shout out to all those early childhood, all those teachers at Pine River and the 4Ks too, for the hard work that they do, the prep work that goes into setting up a classroom for young learners is incredible. And especially right now, they're going behind, and every toy that's touched or used gets cleaned and sanitized, every surface, after every bathroom use. Between the different classrooms, the bathrooms are cleaned. There's just a really increased amount of measures of keeping things clean, which is probably part of the reason why we've only had those 2 cases in our building much earlier this year. So I just wanted to really thank our amazing staff and let the public know we are taking applications at all times. They just need to call school at 536-2392, and we will gladly get them set up. If we can't fit them in now, we'll keep them on our list and call them as soon as possible. But I'm grateful for this community. It's always been putting education first, and that's part of the reason that my family is really grateful too, that our children have been able to go through this district and do well in their lives. So that's what I'm grateful for.
Yeah, and I will obviously echo everyone's sentiments of being grateful towards our community, because if the community wasn't around, none of this would really exist, obviously. And we obviously have such an amazing community. We talk about this every year around graduation time when we get over $1 million worth of scholarships for maybe 200 kids. I mean, and some of those kids don't get any of the scholarship money. So just think of how well off some of these kids are. I know when I graduated, I did not go for any scholarships. I did not get any grants. But yet we still had over $1 million. And I know several students in my class that were the same as me. They didn't go for college. They went straight into the workforce. And I'm grateful for this school district that we're not only supporting those kids that are going to college, we're supporting those that want to jump right into the workforce, because as we all know, we need those people that can jump right into the workforce and get rolling right away and be successful in whatever career choice they want to do. It really is become a not just an educational, but a life building district that we have here. And I think that's one of the things I'm most grateful for.
Yeah, and even last night, Park City Credit Union was able to, they donated to us $2,500, and they wanted to make sure that our families that did not have internet access at home received hotspots so that their children can receive virtual education if needed. So I'm always amazed at the generosity and the support of our community. So you said it very well.
Yeah, Park City, Church Mutual, the Bierman Foundation, they've always had our back when it comes to helping educate. And so a big shout out to all 3 too. I'm grateful that those 3 exist within this community to help in any way, shape, and form that they can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, John, you get your one question for our guest today.
Well, and you probably know where I'm going with this, but Jill, since this is like this date, what is today's date? It's the 19th, which means that's triple bonus question day. So you get 3 questions this time.
Wow.
Two of them are fill in the blank, and then one is something that you have to come up with on your own. So fill in the blank. Blank your calendar.
The most obvious one is mark your calendar.
Mark your calendar. Okay, I'll get that one. And question number 2, fill in the blank. Runners to your blank.
Positions, spots.
Okay.
Like a track
And
meet.
the last one is, who's your favorite administrator?
Oh, well. I have to go with Mark Seaman. I have to go with Mark because I know that he has grown as a human being since he became an administrator. And it's really been a treat to watch him from both the academic and the school world, but also get to see him at home. And sometimes we do, I hear a few stories, and just to see him kind of work through those, it's been really a great experience to see him as an administrator. So I'm going to have to say Mark Seaman, and I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I didn't.
And you only missed one. Not that there was any right or wrong answers here, but if you would have said runners to your mark, it would have been runners to your mark your calendar, and Mark Seaman. So, Mark, I tried. You did so much better than Mark did when I tried to get him to identify you. And so Mark should be very appreciative.
Well,
Yeah, I think he was 0 for 3, if I remember correctly.
He was 0 for 3, and he identified, I think he identified myself or Ryan as his favorite administrator, which is a nice political move, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I'll have to give that to him. But
That's right.
never going to hear the end of this.
Very good, Jill. You nailed that one.
Well, thanks, John. That was fun.
All right, John. I think we're going to do one more question actually from you, because I know we have a theme a little bit too with our administrative questions from the head administrator to our other administrators, if I'm remembering correctly here.
That we have a theme?
Yeah, we have a theme going this year of kind of what's your hobbies, basically.
Sure. What do you? Because I know everybody and what they do for the 14 to 16-hour work days that they're doing right now. But Jill, what do you like to do if there's such a thing as not working or anything that's not MAPS related? What are some of the things, your interests and hobbies and things that you look forward to doing during your own time?
When I'm not working, one of my very, very favorite things to do is read. But I have lots of hobbies. Music, singing is one of the things that I truly enjoy and gives me great joy. But the greatest joy of all is anytime I can spend some time with my family, whether it's my parents and Mark's parents, or especially our children and their loved ones. So that's the ultimate favorite for me. But and outdoors, you get me outdoors. You probably know this, but I've coached many years, and some of that was just to get outside after the school day and spend time with kids outdoors. So all of those things, anything outdoors, really, like biking, jogging, walking. I just got cross-country skis for the first time, so I'm actually looking for some ski boots, but I got the skis, so it's a good start. Probably get up to the Underdown a few times this winter.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, are you going to plan on, and I don't remember the terms, the first time I skied was as an older adult when I went to teach in Alaska. And up there, the Bering Strait School District had a biathlon team that was the combination of cross-country skiing and shooting. And so I was fascinated by that, and I didn't have a snowmobile my first year there, so I learned to ski. Is that the inline skating then, where you're on a track, or are you doing the skate skiing? Which is your preference for cross-country skiing?
I'll do the inline. But I'm curious about the skate skiing, and I do have some friends with those, and it looks like fun, but I'll just stick to the skate skiing for now.
Sure. And you can always put that on the classifieds for our weekly bulletin as well, that you're looking for boots. It's not just for selling, but looking. We've played with the idea too of cross-country skiing, because I think it's something that we can do in our own neighborhood.
Yeah,
and especially in this time where you can't really get out and get as much air as you'd like, maybe, just doing those things out in the wilderness where there is going to be nobody that potentially could have COVID or anything like that. I think that's absolutely wonderful. And good luck to learning that, Jill. I've cross country skied, I think maybe twice in my life, and it's always fun, just cold.
I'll stay away from the steep hills on my cross country skis. Yeah, it is cold if you're out there in the wind.
Yeah. But other than that, John, I think we're pretty solid getting ready for Thanksgiving. And then December 1, everyone comes back, correct?
I'm hoping. We've got another meeting today. Like I say, I had a meeting with the superintendents with the Wisconsin Valley Conference, and so we're all talking about it. And it really comes down to what's our highest priority. If it's a staffing related issue, we can't control what the community does. But if it's a staffing issue or we can't provide supervision, then we're going to be unable to open. But we're hoping right now that everybody can come back on December 1. Next Monday, I think we've got an event too, don't we, with the choir?
Correct. The high school choir director, we were supposed to do this probably about 2 weeks ago, but due to COVID-related things, it was unable to happen and the time frame that we had originally wanted. But next Monday will be a choir concert live on YouTube. It will not be performed live. We are recording yesterday and today. There was some recording at the beginning of our session here for that, and we're trying to piece everything together. And we're, for the first time ever, these students are going to be able to watch their stuff live with their families and really rate their performances there at home. We originally thought of live streaming it, but do you really want to drop your kids off here, go home, watch the live stream, then come pick them up again? As someone that is looking to have kids in the future, I wouldn't want to do that myself. I'd just say, yeah, skip it. But that I think this is the best of both worlds, being able to do it here in the school during the school time, and just be able to have a great concert that the kids will be able to enjoy with their families during this time. I think that'll be something special.
And I know with our winter sports season too, that was one of the topics this morning. Stevens Point has elected to not have any spectators, at least to my knowledge so far, at their basketball games and the wrestling matches. And so we have another thing to be grateful for, is that you're going to be able to live stream all of the winter sports, correct?
So that is not Merrill Productions that is doing any of that this year. John Miller is the best man to talk to about this, but I can elaborate a little bit. So a company called NFHS, I can't remember what it stands for, my apologies, had approached John Miller back in the summer, and a lot of the other neighboring school districts had gone with them too, to the point where they were offering two cameras for the same price, or 2 free cameras. It was a deal we couldn't pass up, basically. And the cameras automatically turn on, follow the action. No need for any camera operators, because here at Merrill Productions, we were worried about camera operators, obviously with COVID, all that. And we've already ran into those problems just doing meetings. So we're grateful for these guys who are coming in. The family pays $70 for the whole season. And that's a whole school season, not from what I understand. But part of that $70 goes back to the school district. So it's one of those where we can't, it's one of those where we can control it, but we really can't at the same time. And these guys have come in so graciously and helped out. We have one of the cameras at Jay Stadium, which is where Merrill Productions was not filming any of the football games or any of the soccer games that did happen to happen. And we do have the one in the field house should be working. I believe they filmed all the volleyball, and I believe they're doing all the basketball this upcoming winter. So, but like I said, John Miller is the best man to ask on that one. That's all the information I know. Is this camera system should be something that is going to help Merrill for the foreseeable future, especially giving back the money towards us.
Good, and that's really going to help because unfortunately we have to limit. Each player gets 2 tickets, and so that's we have to limit the seating at our sporting events. Right now, it's still up in the air that if we have an away contest, that we're going to be able to attend it all. And so I know that our parents are thankful, and extended family and friends are thankful to be able to, at least while they can't be present to watch any basketball games or wrestling matches, that they're going to be able to pick that up at least and watch it virtually, which seems like everything is going virtual now, not 3D, but looking at it on a screen.
Yeah, and I still love seeing a game in person. I'm thankful that I was able to attend the football games as a worker, but it still was very nice to be able to spectate from the booth and help out as the time operator. So if there was a time problem, I apologize. That was probably my fault this season for the varsity team. But it's just kind of just got to be grateful that we have these things. Obviously, be thankful that sports are going on in general. Because remember, back in April and May, we were supposed to have quite a number of sports, and there was nothing going on at all. So, just thankful that we've got sports now. So,
and we're going to lead into Thanksgiving, and I think if you read the weekly bulletin tomorrow, you'll be able to see what the Sample family is going to be partaking in. And there's not a drop of turkey on our menu this year, so we try to come up with something a little bit creative based on our cravings at the time. So it'll be fun.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I'm not much of a turkey fan either. I'm more of the ham guy. A good Thanksgiving ham is my kind of jam.
Yeah, there you go, and it rhymes.
Yeah. So, all right, John. I believe our next, if I pull up my calendar here, our next Bluejay chat is. Holy cow, we're a bit of ways here. December 17th with Dawn Non.
That's right, because our board meeting is on the 16th, and so we'll be meeting again on December 17th.
Let's see if we're still the only 2 schools open at that point. I hope not. Us in the high school.
Well, 3, I believe. Maple Grove is open.
Maple Grove, us, and the high school, right?
Yeah. And John, can you give us a little bit on Dawn before we head out here?
Yes. What would you like to know?
Who is she? What? I don't think we've had her on Bluejay chat yet.
Dawn Non is the teaching principal at Maple Grove Charter School, and so she brings an element of not only being the principal but also teaching. So she's a special ed teacher and the principal. So she'll be able to give us a perspective with our furthest away elementary building. And they've done real well with their numbers so far. They've got a smaller staff, so if they were missing 1 or 2, it can be very detrimental to their whole building. But they're still in operation, as well as we're all in operation, but physically in operation, as well as Pine River School for Young Learners and the high school. So we're hoping that come December 1st, we're going to be able to open the remaining buildings.
Awesome, John. Well, Jill, thank you for joining us today. It's been such a wonderful pleasure to have you on. We're going to look forward to having you on again in the future. And John, obviously, absolutely fantastic episode today.
Thank you, Nathan, and thank you, Jill.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Once again, my name is Nathan Meyer, alongside Dr. John Sample and Mrs. Jill Seaman. Thank you for joining us today, and we will see you all later.